Okay guys, so what is it about the Fatboy that we love? We dive into it on this episode of Rolling with Tbone. Alright guys, welcome back to this episode of Rolling with Tbone. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's Tbone. I shoot motorcycle related content and, well, any kind of content really, as you'll see if you go check out some of my old videos. So if you're new, welcome in. If you're old, welcome back. You know what's going on as we roll down the road on Big Papa. That's right, some of y'all may not have seen Big Papa hanging out on the channel for a little while, but he is still the star of the show. Don't ever mistake that. But today guys, if you checked the thumbnail out or if you read the header, you know what's going on. Why do we love the Harley Davidson Fatboy? Well, that is a very simple question that does not have a simple answer, I'm afraid. To really understand why we love the Harley Davidson Fatboy, we got to jump in the time machine and go backwards 32 years all the way to 1990. Now 1990, of course, was the birth of the Harley Davidson Fatboy. At the time the Fatboy came along, Harley Davidson was in the midst of a revolution, or a evolution, if you will. But to really understand where the Fatboy came from, we got to go even further back, all the way to 1984. Now 1984 was the beginning of the evolution empire that Harley Davidson built. Now Harley Davidson in 1984 were coming off the heels of reacquiring their own company, separating themselves from AMF, and at this time they were really trying to set the bar not only for themselves but for the motorcycle industry. So by 1984 a lot of things were happening at Harley Davidson. A lot of changes, and one name that is synonymous with all the change that was happening at Harley Davidson during this time was a guy named Willie G. Davidson. Now Willie G, of course, is direct lineage to the beginning of the company. He is part of the Davidson family. Willie G was a designer who designed probably some of the most beautiful Harley Davidsons I feel that was ever designed. Of course, he designed the White Glide, the Springer, and this Fatboy, the Fatboy platform, this was all Willie G, baby. This was Willie G's love child right here, the Harley Davidson Fatboy. Because what happened was the Softail platform really began to take off in the 1986. In 1986, the Softail standard came along, and over the course of the next 4 years, there would be different variations. The Custom came along. 1988, the Softail Springer was introduced with the Springer front end, which was the retro look from the 1940s. The Heritage Softail was kind of a slapped around love child, if you will. Because what happened with the Heritage was you had people out there who just did not like the big plastic saddlebags, the big fairing on the bike. They just didn't like all the bulkiness that came along with Tour Glides, Ultras and stuff that had all the plastics on it. They were too heavy, too bulky. So what the Heritage Softail offered was a streamlined bagger. Leather bags, nothing but a windshield. It had a light bar on it. But it, like a lot of other bikes at that time, was met with mixed reviews, because you got to think back to this time, guys. There was still, the shovelhead crowd was still into the game. The shovelhead hadn't gone really nowhere. Of course, Harley-Davidson stopped producing it, but they were still out there in abundance. So people still had their shovelheads. And of course, we spoke about this a while back in one of my other videos. I think it was the Springer video, that crowd, the shovelhead crowd, was against the Evo. They were against the hardtail, you know, softail. They were against swing arms. So everything that was coming out, I mean, any motorcycle back then that had what we would call, what you guys call today, baggers. Back in those days, we called them full dressers. They were dressed out, fully dressed, with fairings, saddlebags, trunks. So that crowd was still calling them garbage barges and all this big stuff they were calling them. So what you had happen is, basically Willie G came along, and Willie G said, all right, I've got an ideal. And his ideal was to take the platform, the Softail platform, take the Heritage and strip it completely down. Take off the light bar, take off saddlebags, take off everything that just didn't immediately need to be on this bike. And then he tweaked everything again. And what he came up with in 1990 was the Harley-Davidson Fatboy. It was big, it was beefy, it was futuristic looking, it had wider tires, solid rims. And guys, here's the thing. The Fatboy was met with fanfare. This thing was an instant success. Willie G. Davison was so sure that this motorcycle was going to be a success that he said, forget testing the waters. The very first year, Harley-Davidson pumped out 4403. So you don't pump out nearly 5,000 motorcycles the first year you unveil it if you're not sure of a few things. And that's kind of been Willie G's motif throughout his entire motorcycle career, is Willie G knows how to read what's going on with motorcycle culture. What he did with the Wide Glide. The Wide Glide came from the factory, guys, in the 80s. It was touted as a chopper. That's how Harley-Davidson advertised this motorcycle, was it was a factory chopper. It had a longer rake, Wide Glide front end, bars, had a heavy body. It was called a chopper. That's how Willie G looked at his Wide Glide, was it was a chopper. This, the Fatboy, just turned out to be a flat out custom. It was aesthetically pleasing, beautiful bike. It was big. It had the 1330 power plant in it. It wasn't just the 1200. They had put the 1330 in it. It had a 5-speed transmission, and it was about between 8 and 11 grand brand new, but this was back in 1990, so that was probably 20 grand today or more. But when this bike first came along, Willie G knew it was going to be something special, and man, was he right. This motorcycle is probably, no, it's not probably, this is the most recognizable motorcycle Harley-Davidson Motor Company ever produced. And here's why I say that. No special targeting was needed, because this motorcycle came along when the moon and the stars and all the planets were lined up. This motorcycle debuted and became a pop culture phenomenon. Terminator 2. Arnold Schwarzenegger rode a Fatboy in Terminator 2. And that's where most people, well, let me back up. That's where most Generation X, Gen Xers got their love for the Fatboy, was from the Terminator movie. But you think about seeing stuff that belongs to motorcycles culture just out in your everyday travel. This motorcycle was made into a telephone that you could answer at home. It was on lamps. It had a remote control car version of it. Everywhere you looked in popular culture for Harley Davidson, the Harley Davidson Fatboy was the representative. I mean, this bike was on everything. It became so recognizable that Harley Davidson themselves started producing their own toy version of this motorcycle. That's how popular this motorcycle got. And guys, let's not just consider this a flash in the pan. 32 years later, and the Fatboy's still partying hard. Sure, the new Milwaukee, I guess it was 2020 or 2019, the big change happened, different headlight, still a round headlight, but it was in more of a square housing. I haven't actually got to spend a whole lot of time with the newer style Fatboys up close and personal. So Willie G put it out there. It was a success. It's been a pop culture icon, and it really hasn't went nowhere. So then the question is so simple: why do we love the Fatboy? In its purest form, this is probably one of the best looking mics I think Harley ever produced. And here's the thing, guys. They came out of the box looking pretty good, which means you didn't really have to do a whole lot of upgrading and changing things. I mean, there was chrome everywhere, slick paint jobs, cool stance. Most people did not like the handlebars that Harley Davidson put on. However, I think it was a wider version of the Staghorn, so most of them got either T-bars or drag bars. Mine has risers and ape-hangers. But man, I think for me, now I can only speak for me as a owner of a Fatboy, and of course if you're new here, I'm sorry, this is Big Papa. This is my 2003, it's an anniversary edition Fatboy, and you know, he only has like 41,000 miles on him. So the guy got him from, took care of him. He's been very well taken care of. I love him, love to ride him. Me and R1's put a ton of miles on this bike since we got it. R1 being my wife, Regina. So aesthetically it's beautiful, but guys, riding this motorcycle, if you look at my foot position on the crash bars and the floorboards, this bike is like sitting in a recliner riding down the road. I mean, it's nothing for me on a ride. We will lay down 6-7 hours easy. I love this bike. I love to ride this bike. This bike is so comfortable, and she turns heads wherever she goes. There's always a conversation about the Fatboy wherever I go on her. So Big Papa here, he came into our lives a few years back, and probably is the most consistent motorcycle that I actually have. And if you are new here, and the reason, let me say this, I know some of y'all keep saying, why are you saying if you're new here? Because I belong to the Fatboy owners group on Facebook, and I had spoken to the admin, and I said, would it be okay if I uploaded a video? He said, as long as it's about the Fatboy, absolutely. So I'm hoping I'm reaching new people. I hope to get likes and friend requests, and over on YouTube, you'll find Rolling with Tbone on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or not Twitter, but TikTok. I do have a Twitter page, but I don't do nothing with it. So that's why that's happening. But Big Papa here has just been phenomenal. And you know, another thing about the Fatboy guys that we love about them is they, for all intents and purposes, if you go through Harley Davidson's history, they're kind of an identity crisis motorcycle, because they are a custom softail. The Fatboy is essentially a custom softail. That's how it's titled. It's titled as a custom, but it's also a Hydroglide. Now, all of you Harley enthusiasts who have done a lot of research or whatnot on the history of Harley Davidson, you will know that Harley Davidson did in fact years ago produce a motorcycle called the Hydroglide. This is essentially, the front end of this motorcycle still has the hydraulic fluid shocks. So essentially this motorcycle and the Heritage are still Hydroglides, just on a soft tail frame. So I know that's kind of a lot to wrap your mind around if you're not a Fatboy enthusiast or a soft tail enthusiast, because I know y'all are out there. And if you're new here, let me go ahead and tell you this is not the only soft tail I have. I traded my V-Rod in for a 1992 soft tail Springer. Beautiful bike, I love to ride. There's videos of me riding it, and I'll do a video on the Springers pretty soon. It's not a chopper, it's just heavily custom. It has 6-gallon tanks. Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man style paint, which is just down to the metal. It's got the Evolution emblems, has a 2000 S&S engine on it. And then I have Blue Moon. Blue Moon is my 97 Dyna Super Glide, which I will be doing a video on just like this one. If you want to follow me and keep watching my videos, you will see a video coming out pretty soon about the Super Glide family of bikes. Again, another Willie G. Davidson creation. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, the simple question, why do we love Fatboys? I mean, they're beautiful bikes, they run good. This one, of course, being the 03, has the 1450 in it. I don't go fast. I'm not a speed demon. I'm not a 150 horsepower plus guy. I just like to ride. You know, I enjoy riding my motorcycle. I enjoy being able to get out of my own way, most definitely. But I think for me, guys, if I'm just going to try to nail it down to one reason why I love the Fatboy, is just because it's comfortable. Which played a lot into me getting this motorcycle, was just if me and R1 could be comfortable while we rode. And that really meant a lot that we had that comfort level, because she's had back surgery. I have a bad back from a motorcycle wreck years ago. So comfort played a lot into this bike, and immediately when I sat down on this bike, it felt good. You know, if you ride a motorcycle, you know. If you know, you know. And as soon as I sat down on this bike, I knew that I was going to be happy with this bike. But yeah, I mean, you know, the Fatboy came from very humble beginnings, but it made an immediate impact. You know, and my challenge to you is go back and read for the history of Harley Davidson for yourself. You know, read up about the coming of the soft tail, and you know, the closest cousin to the soft tail would be the wide glide. You know, Harley Davidson had the Bad Boy. In 1996 was probably the Bad Boy's most popular year, because the Bad Boy was the one with the Springer front end. It was a soft tail, but it was a specialty edition. And again, I'll probably do a video on the Springer family too, that began its life in '88. But when it comes to the Fatboy is a staple for Harley Davidson. This motorcycle has been an icon for 32 years, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing up. If Harley Davidson ever quit producing the Fatboy, I would really be shocked, because just from what I'm seeing on Instagram and, you know, TikTok videos and YouTube videos, there's still a big love for this motorcycle. This motorcycle still has a huge following. And in the Fatboy owners group on Facebook, man, I'm getting to see all kind of different Fatboys, getting to see different colors, what different mods are being done. And of course, I'll shoot some pictures of Big Papa here, and I'll put him in this video so you can kind of see what he looks like. Not this angle. course, Big Papa here, he's got the Vance and Hines short shots on it. The black ones, they look great. They mix well with all the chrome and the two-tone paint job. Of course, the silver on black anniversary paint job. I love this paint job. Love the bike. Of course, a lot of chrome. I washed this bike yesterday because I rode him to town yesterday and I knew I was going to be shooting this video today. And I washed him, but I've still got to go polish the chrome. I've still got to put the wax on. I just kind of wanted to get all the winter dirt and grime off. But man, what a beautiful weekend this turned out to be. I mean, no rain. A little bit brisk. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little bit brisk out here right now. And I don't mind riding in the brisk because I do have the gear for it. Got the gauntlets on, got my windbreaker jacket on, and of course my full face helmet, which I have under my full face helmet is my headgear, kind of like a face mask, and all together it comes down, covers my neck. But if I didn't have all this gear, I wouldn't be able to ride. Now, of course, I do just have my tennis shoes on, but my feet are fine. I'm okay. I'm just ready for summer, guys. I mean, I'm not even ready for spring no more. A couple of weeks ago, I was saying I'm ready for spring. Now I'm just ready for summer. You know, not that it's been just an awful winter. We did have some below freezing temperatures that lasted around Christmas time, which was really early for our area. But I'm just ready for summer. I'm ready to get back on some kind of, I'm telling you, winter plays havoc on my mental health because I love to ride, and I will ride in the wintertime. But with everything going on with R1 and just work and, you know, trying to get ready for spring soccer, I really have just been neglecting my moto blog. And of course, last week, guys, we celebrated our 3-year anniversary. We started out 3 years ago as Tbone Southern Ride, and now here we are 3 years later, still doing the thing. If you go back and you watch them old videos, you'll notice that I ride a motorcycle called the Midnight Express. It's a 1984 first year Evo Tour Glide that I had for a while. I began this channel with that bike and then ended up trading that bike for Blue Moon. But I've ridden a lot of bikes, guys, and probably this Fatboy is probably my love. I don't really picture me ever getting rid of this motorcycle. It would have to be some kind of serious reason for me to get rid of this bike, because, you know, I trade around on other bikes. I drop keys on the V-Rod for the Springer, drop keys on Tour Glide for the Dyna. But guys, thanks for being with me and watching this video. Thanks for 3 years of support. Like I said, if you're new here, find us on YouTube, find us here on Facebook, like us, follow us. I'm on TikTok. It's Rolling with Tbone on TikTok and Instagram. And thanks for the support. It's all free. I don't have no Patreon. I don't charge for anything. I just like to run my mouth and ride my motorcycle. And a lot of you guys out there enjoy watching me do it. You know, if you don't, I'm not for everyone. I'm not saying I'm for everyone. But if you enjoy, like, comment, share, tell a friend. You know, check out some of my older content. Maybe do that before you even like or subscribe to anything. Just go back and watch some of my older videos. But guys, I'll tell you what, I'm going to pretty well much call it an end right here on this video. Remember to do all the things, like, comment, share, subscribe. But guys, y'all take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And until the next time, this has been Rolling with Tbone.